Yo, what's going on YouTube? Jake Cameo here from Core Gaming, and today I have for you a very exciting deck profile, my ABC Ojama deck. Now with this deck, something very important you need to know, whether it's in your hand, field, or graveyard, basically your entire deck is live. No matter what your opponent does, no matter where your cards go, your deck is always able to do something. So the only downside to this deck is if your opponent starts banishing your cards. At that point, things get a little hectic and you have to figure out ways to get through that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this. So starting off, we have 2 Ojama Yellow, 2 Ojama Black, and 2 Ojama Green. Now they are obviously normal monsters, they don't really do anything, they're super weak, they have 0 attack, 1000 defense, level 2s, there's not much to them as themselves. But there are plenty of cards in this deck that help you out, and it's because of them that you can even do a lot of these combos. So I run 2 of each because I've never felt the need to run more or less of these cards. This is just the perfect balance in my opinion, because there are ways to recycle them, and you really never truly run out of Ojama cards to use. So moving on to the ABC pieces, I run 3A, 3B, and 2C. Now the reason behind this is because typically you want to see at least one of your 3 pieces. So you want a lot of the monsters in your deck to be ABC pieces, but you don't want to clog the deck up with ABC pieces. You can in fact run 3 of each, but I've found personally for this to be the most consistent and easy way to get your plays off with keeping enough room in the deck for other cards. So this is my personal ratio. So moving on, let's go over the effects here. A can protect when he's equipped to, they're all union monsters, so they can equip to each other. When A is equipped, he can protect your monster from monster effects. When B is equipped, he can protect your monster from spell effects, and when C is equipped, he can protect your monster from trap effects. And each of them also have an effect that when they're sent from the field to the grave, then you get off another effect. So A can recycle ABC pieces or union monster pieces from the grave to the hand. B Buster can grab ABC pieces or union pieces from the deck to your hand, and C can special summon from union pieces from the hand to the field. So each one of those has its own merit, but sometimes you'll want to go ahead and not use A's effect, because typically you want all your pieces on the field or in the grave. They don't really have much use in your hand, so you only really use A's effect if you need to, but there are times where you will overlook A's effect to recycle from grave. So moving on in the monsters, I run 1 heavy mech support armor, just because this is added protection for your monsters. It can be added protection for any of these guys if you get stalled, or protection for your ABC Dragon Buster. And he can also recycle. I forgot about that effect. If this card is normal summoned, you can target 1 union monster in your graveyard, special summon it. So he can recycle as well. So he's even better than I recall. I almost never use the recycle ability because, like I said, you want it all on the field or in the grave. But you could use that to get added effects and stuff like that. So heavy mech support armor is definitely at least one of that you want to run in this deck, because like I said, he is protection. He protects from everything. It's unaffected. Your opponent cannot target a monster equipped with this card with card effects. So, and also if it were to be destroyed, the monster equipped this card is equipped to, then instead of the card being equipped, the card that is equipped being destroyed, then Heavy Mech takes the hit for you instead. So that's super cool. He's amazing protection, and I just love the card all in all. So that's it for the Ojama and ABC union pieces. Now to round off the monsters, we run one Destrudo, which if you're unfamiliar with Destrudo, he is a tuner dragon, and his effect is if this card is sent from your hand or graveyard, if this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can pay half your life points, then target one level 6 or lower monster you control, special summon this card, and if you do, this card's level is reduced by the level of the targeted monster. Also, place this card on the bottom of the deck if it leaves the field. So basically, if he's in your hand or your graveyard, you can pay half your life points to target a monster already on the field, special summon him, and when he leaves the field, he goes to the bottom of the deck instead. So he's a recyclable card as well. He recycles back into the deck so that you can use him later if you need to. But he is really, really good because he can tuner out with any other monster that we have, really. So say you have Heavy Mech armor, then you target this, and his level is reduced by 3. His level will always make the total level on the field. If you use this effect, it will always make the total level on the field 7. So you will always be able to tune into level 7 monsters, no matter what monster you target with his effect. But keep in mind that it does have to be level 6 or lower. So we run one Destrudo, and then the last monster we run is 2 Effect Veiler. This card isn't completely necessary. You can always run Ghost Ogre or Ash Blossom, whatever you like, but me personally, I prefer Effect Veiler because I would rather stop a monster's effect from going off than stop a search from going off with this deck. This particular deck, I prefer Effect Veiler. Other decks, yeah, for sure, Ash Blossom is a fantastic card, but in this particular deck, I prefer Effect Veiler. Now onto the spells. We run one Foolish Burial, so that you can get your Destrudo engrave or a piece that you may need. Foolish Burial is just all around really good. Like I said, from your hand, field, or grave, all the cards you will run in this deck are, almost all the cards you will run in this deck are live. You can use them for effects, you can use them for everything. This deck is absolutely amazing at being able to use cards no matter what. So putting a card in the graveyard is fantastic in this deck. So then we run one Dragon Ravine, also so that we can get Destrudo engrave, and for the added benefit of destroying our Ojama magic that you will see later for its effect. Then we run 3 Union Hanger. Union Hanger should be sort of self-explanatory if you're looking at an ABC deck, but just in case you are not, when this card is activated, you can add 1 Light Machine Union type monster from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, if a Light Machine Union monster is normal or special summoned to your field, except during the damage step, you can target one of those monsters. Equip 1 appropriate Light Machine type Union monster with a different name from your deck to that monster, but the Union monster you equipped cannot be special summoned this turn. You can only activate 1 Union Hanger per turn. So, in retrospect, you play Union Hanger, get a free Union monster to your hand, and then if a Union monster is special summoned or normal summoned, you go into your deck and equip that monster with a different Union monster from your deck. So if you have B on field, you go into your deck, you can put C, so on and so forth, but you cannot put, if you summon B, you cannot go into your deck and place a B equipped to B. It has to be a different name, so keep that in mind because that can confuse some people. And then to make sure that we round out and get at least one of our field spells that we run 4 of. We run 3 terraforming. So all in all, we run 4, 5, 6, 7 field spells, so that we almost always have a field spell in our hand, able to use and get plays off that way. And now for one of the most essential cards in this entire deck. We run 3 Ojama Simulation. That card is a toughie to say, but Ojama Simulation. Now this card is pluses all day long. No matter what, if you activate this card, you are plussing. There is no downside to this card whatsoever. So this card says, reveal 1 Light Machine Fusion monster from your extra deck and banish any number of Ojama monsters from your hand, face-up field, and or graveyard. Special summon fusion materials with different names whose names are specifically listed, on the card you revealed from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So that's not all the effect, but just recapping, you play Ojama Simulation, you reveal ABC Dragon Buster, and then for every Ojama monster that you banish, you can special summon the pieces needed for ABC. So say you have a yellow in hand. You play Ojama Simulation, you banish the yellow, and then you can go into your deck and get any of the 3 pieces that you need. Or if you have all 3, or just multiple copies of Ojama, adding up to 3, so say you had 2 yellows and a green, then you could banish all 3, go into your deck, get A, B, and C from your deck and special summon them. And if you have Union Hanger as well, you can equip them all with A, B, and C, and then you have 2 copies of ABC Dragon Buster ready to go right there. So continuing on, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 3 of your banished Ojama monsters, shuffle them into the deck, then draw 1 card. So you're banishing your Ojama monsters, and once you have 3 Ojama monsters in your banish zone, then you can use Ojama Simulation's effect from your graveyard to banish this card, return 3 Ojama monsters from your banish pile into your deck, shuffle, and draw a card. So this card is literally the plus maniac of the deck. You do nothing but plus from this card. So it is hands down one of the top 2 strongest and star cards of the deck. So then we play 3 Ojama Magic, or Oja Magic. If this card is sent from your hand or field to the graveyard, add 1 of each Ojama Green, Ojama Yellow, and Ojama Black from your deck to your hand. So you typically want to destroy this card if possible. If you don't have 3 or Ojama Yellow, Green, and Black in your deck, then you can't activate this. But if you do, typically you will, because you recycle and such like that. So even if say you start out with Oja Magic and Dragon Ravine, you can activate Dragon Ravine, sack Oja Magic, send it to the graveyard, and then get Oja Magic's effect and Dragon Ravine's effect. So you're putting Destrudo in the grave, and you're getting a yellow, green, and black to your hand. So you typically want to destroy this if you can. If not, it's no big deal. It's just a useless card that you can destroy or use Dragon Ravine for later or something like that. And then for the draw power of the deck, my personal favorite draw power for this deck, it's not Pot of Desires, it's not Card of Demise, although you can use Card of Demise, it's just a little bit slow in this deck. So the best draw power for this deck, in my opinion, would be Hand Destruction. So as I was saying, you typically want to destroy this card if possible. This helps out with that, and not only that, you just so you guys know, each player sends 2 cards from their hand to the graveyard and draws 2 cards. So each player, you and your opponent, will send 2 cards from your hand to the graveyard and draw 2 cards. So that could help your opponent, but it's more than likely going to help you even more, because as I've said, From your hand, field, or graveyard, cards can be played, cards can be activated, everything is fantastic. So no matter what you sack off with this, typically, you're plussing. Like, there's no downside to you discarding cards from this card. So it's really good, and it's just, this deck flows so brilliantly. And this is personally my favorite deck to use. I have a lot of decks, and this one is just all around my favorite to use. So now moving on to the traps. We run 3 Ojama Pajama. So this one is also hands down one of the top 2 cards of the deck as well. So there's Ojama Simulation and Ojama Pajama. These 2 cards are absolutely amazing. Now, first turn, Ojama Pajama doesn't have too much of an effect, really. So you don't really want to open up with Ojama Pajama, but it can be pretty amazing if you have to carry on to the second turn, and so on and so forth. Because if an Armed Dragon monster or a Light Machine Fusion monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish 1 Ojama card from your hand, face-up, field, or graveyard you control, or graveyard instead. You can only use each of the following effects of Ojama Pajama once per turn. During the main phase, you can add 1 Ojama card from your deck to your hand, then discard 1 card. If this card is sent from the to the graveyard, you can special summon as many of your banished Ojama monsters as possible. So, this card is mainly protection for days. So this is your main protection card, because it protects your ABC Dragon Buster from just about anything, because you have so many Ojama cards like Ojama Magic, Ojama Simulation, Ojama Pajama, and the Ojama cards as well. There's so many Ojama cards in this deck that this card is the best protection for you, because all you have to do is banish one of your Ojama cards from hand, field, or graveyard, and you protect your monster. It's absolutely amazing and the best protection possible for the deck. You also get the ability of, during your main phase, you can add an Ojama card from your deck to your hand, but then you have to discard a card. So if you didn't have Ojama Magic before, then you can add Ojama Magic to your hand with this card, and then discard Ojama Magic to the graveyard to get yellow, green, and black. Or if you need to, you can search Ojama Simulation with this card as well, or just any Ojama card. If you want another Ojama Pajama card, then you can search that out and then discard a card. This card is your searcher and protection. This card is absolutely amazing and does absolutely nothing but plus. So Ojama Simulation and Ojama Pajama, I highly recommend running at 3 each, because they are such vital cards for the deck. I've seen so many people run Ojama Pajama at 2, and while I kind of agree, I almost always want to see this card as well as Ojama Simulation, because they are such vital cards for the deck. Now moving on, we run 1 Union Scramble, because you do go against some of those decks such as Trick Stars and things like that that can banish your cards. So if your opponent banishes pieces, you want to have some way to get those pieces back. So you need to run at least 1 Union Scramble. You can run more if you would like, but typically you want to run at least 1. And then rounding off our traps and the end of our main deck, we run 3 Torrential Tribute, because even if your opponent summons all these monsters and everything, and you have to activate Torrential Tribute, destroying the entire board, your monsters included, as I've said, hand, field, or graveyard, you are good. So no matter what, even if you have to activate Torrential Tribute, your cards are still live. So that's absolutely amazing for this deck and can be such help, because typically people love to overstuff their board or over prepare their board, so they'll summon so many monsters and have no response after you wait and wait and wait, and they're just summoning and summoning and summoning, and then you finally activate Torrential Tribute, destroying everything they've worked so hard for, and you are prepared for them to end their turn and destroy them next turn, because everything in your graveyard is still live, unlike their graveyard typically. So Torrential Tribute, also a fantastic card in this deck. Now we'll move on to the side deck. I run one more heavy mech support armor, just in case for some reason I need added protection from something. Then I have one more that I could put in. Then I run 3 Called by the Grave, because Ash Blossom is a thing that can slow you down, and there are other things such as Ghost Ogre and things like that. Things that can just slow you down, and this can assure that you, against someone playing heavy amounts of hand traps and such like that, this can assure that that doesn't slow you down as much, and can ultimately save your butt. But typically it's not a big deal if they do slow you down. As I've said, you can always come back with this deck. This deck is absolutely amazing. And yeah, but just in case you are getting frustrated at Ash Blossoms or something like that, then you can side deck this. And all the side deck cards, you want to start out with the Union Scramble and then the 2 Effect Veiler. And then you want to take those out for the side deck cards typically, because they are the least used cards, I would say. They're not really used for any of your main combos or anything, so those are the ones you want to start out side decking if you have to side deck. So if you want to run 3 Called by the Grave, then you would take out the 1 Union Scramble and then the 2 Effect Veiler. Or if you just want to run the Heavy Mech Armor, then you would take out the 1 Union Scramble probably, or one of the Effect Veilers, so on and so forth. But moving on, we also side deck 1 more Union Scramble, because as I've said, you can face Trick Stars and they banish a lot of cards with the trap card that they have. So you want to always be able to save your pieces that they banish if they banish them. So running another Union Scramble can help tremendously. And then we run 1 Jar of Avarice, because if you're ABC Dragon Buster, you have to use its effect to save your pieces and go on into another one and so on and so forth too many times. You can only run 3 ABC Dragon Buster, so if you have to, you can use Jar of Avarice in your deck, and you can recycle the ABC Dragon Buster pieces into your extra deck and continue on playing like that. But typically you won't need to use this because duels are pretty much over in, say, 5-6 turns, something like that, for the most part. But just in case you do, I would definitely side deck at least one of these for that very reason. And then just for the heck of it, because my side deck is basically this, I run 1 Ojama Duo, just because I'm a big fan of the red and blue, and I didn't want to put the actual cards in the deck, so I just side decked this so I could always, kind of look at them. This card really has no purpose. If you were to put it in the deck, the only purpose it would really have is to protect your monsters with Ojama Pajama or something like that. You don't really need this. These are the only cards I would recommend for your side deck personally. You can always side deck hand traps and such like that, like Ash Blossoms and Ghost Ogres and things like that if you want to. There's plenty of space in the extra deck for whatever you would like, but I would recommend these for sure. The Called by the Grave and the 2 traps, most certainly. You don't have to run the Heavy Mech armor in the side deck as well if you don't want to, but at least these Called by the Grave and the 2 traps here, I would 100% recommend side decking for this deck because they can save your butt. Now on to the extra deck. We of course run 3 of the big bad boss monster ABC Dragon Buster. So, if you're unfamiliar with what this card does, must first be special summoned from your extra deck by banishing the above cards you control and or from your graveyard. You do not use polymerization. They're a combining kind of contact fusion sort, which is super amazing, and I am in love with, because you don't have to use space in your deck for polymerization or other fusion cards. You can just fuse them, which is absolutely amazing, and I've been such a fan of ever since the XYZ Dragon Cannon. Yeah, so I've been a fan of that card ever since I was younger. This card over here, just because ever since Kaiba used it in the show, it's been basically groundbreaking with the non-using polymerization to fuse it type thing, and I just think it's absolutely amazing, and I can ramble on and on about it all day long, but I'm not going to. You can discard one card, quick effect, then target one card on the field, banish it. So you can discard all kinds of cards. You typically will discard your Ojama cards and such like that, because you can use them still in the graveyard for effects of cards like Pajama or Assimilation or whatever you may need. So you'll typically discard Ojama cards to banish cards your opponent controls. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can tribute this card, then target 3 of your banished Light Machine Union monsters with different names, special summon them. So, on your opponent's turn, if you have to, you can banish, or tribute, I should say, send him to the graveyard to get your 3 banished pieces you used to summon him, and special summon them to your side of the field. So, say that you are forced to have ABC Dragon Buster on the field, and you have to activate Torrential Tribute because of their board being absolutely phenomenal, and them about to just overrun you with cards in FTKU or something. You activate Torrential Tribute, use his quick effect to send him to the grave and special summon your 3 pieces. Your 3 pieces will go to the grave, but then you will get all the 3 of their effects off. If you want to, you could just get B and C's and so on and so forth, but you could get their effects off, and you would be set up next turn to special summon another one of these from your to your field from your graveyard, because your pieces would be in your graveyard. So all you would have to do is banish them, and another ABC Dragon Buster is right there for you. So we run 3 ABC Dragon Buster, and then we run 1 Ancient Fairy Dragon, because this is what you'll typically go into using Destrudo. It's a level 7. Once per turn, you can special summon a level 4 or lower monster from your hand. Although if you do this, you cannot conduct your battle phase that turn. So you can special summon to further go your summoning plays and stuff like that. But if you do that, remember, you cannot attack that turn. You can destroy as many field spells on the field as possible, and if you do, gain 1,000 life points. Then you can add 1 field spell from your deck to your hand. So if you use Dragon Ravine to get Destrudo and everything like that to summon Ancient Fairy Dragon, then you can use Ancient Fairy Dragon's effect to destroy the Dragon Ravine and your opponent's field spells if they have a field spell. You can destroy them all and gain 1,000 life points, and go into your deck and get a Union Hanger from your deck. So that's something that you could do, especially if you have to first turn use Destrudo, because then that's 4,000 life points that you've given up. So Ancient Fairy helps with that a little bit, because then it technically makes it to where you've only had to give up 3,000. So it's less of a burn or a hurt if you have to do if you do that, but it can be pretty detrimental if you have to sit on that 4,000 life point loss and then they kind of just stop you or something like that. So be very careful when doing that, and be sure that that's the play you want to do. Don't just do it because you can. But then we run 1 Black Rose Dragon. Obviously, I'm sure you guys probably know what Black Rose Dragon does by now. It summons itself and wipes the board, wipes everything from the board clean. So then moving on, we have the Link monsters. We have Clipfort Genius. Super amazing card. I always want to go into this card if I can. If I have 2 ABC pieces in the monster zones, then I will most definitely use them for a Clayfort, because as I've said, you would you would tribute them and they would go to the graveyard. So you would have a free monster and free fusion materials in the graveyard still. So, and then if it's a B and a C, then you obviously could get A to hand and special summon A off C's effect. So then you would have a ABC Buster right there. So you typically want to get B and C on the field and send them to the graveyard for Clayfort, and then you can special summon ABC Dragon Buster to Clayfort's downward arrows there. Then we run one Underclock Taker, because Underclock Taker is Underclock Taker, and Underclock Taker will pretty much always be amazing. You can once per turn you can target one face-up monster that this card points to. So if it's pointing to ABC Dragon Buster, that's 3,000 attack, and one face-up monster your opponent controls. The opponent's targeted monster loses attack equal to the attack of the target that this monster points to. So basically, after my reading has gone astray there, if this card is pointing to ABC Dragon Buster with 3,000 attack, you can target one of your opponent's monsters and that monster loses 3,000 attack. So that's super awesome, super amazing, and can definitely help out. Then we run one Proxy Dragon, because it can be protection and it can further your plays as well. So it's definitely something that you can go into very easily, because it does only require 2 monsters. Unlike Underclock Taker, where they have to be 2 effect monsters, this only requires them to be 2 monsters. So this can definitely help out with some plays and such as well. Then we can have one Decode Talker, because Decode Talker is Decode Talker, and his 2 diagonal downward arrows help out a lot sometimes. So say you can't go into Clayfort for some reason, you can go into Decode and use his 2 downward arrows, because you typically want 2 downward arrows so that you can summon multiple ABC Dragon Busters and just trample over your opponent. That's the main strategy of the deck. But that doesn't always happen, so you also run things like Triple Burst Dragon. Triple Burst Dragon is super good. It can, during the damage step, it can negate spell and traps and monster effects and things like that. And it's basically protection, and it's a 24 beater, so it's actually really good. I have seen very little people play Triple Burst, but I'm a big fan of Triple Burst. Granted, it is only during the damage step, I believe. Once per turn during the damage step. So it's not 24-hour protection, like not the entire turn. It has to be during the damage step. But there are certain times where that can definitely save your butt, and it has mine in the past. So then we'll go into the Exceed monsters, because they're not as important as all these cards, but just in case, say you run out of ABC pieces, they're all banished for some reason and you can't get them back, then you need to use your Ojamas somehow, since they're basically the only other cards in the deck. So we have Phantom Knights of Cursed Javelin, because he can make your opponent's attack 0, so you can attack into an attack position monster and do 1,600 damage. So hopefully that can save you. But then, just in case, we also have number 64, Ronin Raccoon Sandayu. And he can help stall. That's basically all he's there for, is to stall. And then we have Diamond Direwolf. He's there for, basically he's a 2,000 beater, and he can help get rid of Ojama Magic if you need to. Just in case you don't have any cards in your hand or anything like that can help you out, you can go into Diamond Direwolf to get rid of the Ojama Magic and get the Ojama cards from your deck. And then our last card is Maestroke the Symphony Djinn. Basically, he's another stall card. He's pretty much Baguska, but I'm a better fan of using the effect when you need it. So he can basically protect himself and stuff like that when you need it, not just a couple turns and then that's it. So I'm a bigger fan of this over Baguska, but you can definitely run Baguska over this and it'd be the same thing pretty much. But yeah, that's the deck. So let me know what you guys thought about this deck profile in the comments down below. Let me know what you guys would change. Let me know what you guys if you guys need to know more information about the deck, let me know that. I will be uploading a quick duel I had on Dueling Book not too long ago, so that you guys can see a little bit of how this deck works. So be looking forward to that. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. Don't forget to comment down below so that you guys can join the comment country, the Ojama comment country, and hit that subscribe button so that you guys can become Ojama yourself, be a part of the Ojama. So thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are awesome, and I'm gonna get the heck out of here. Have a great day. Peace out.